What's up, writers? We are back again for another episode of writing Dayton's Anointing, the little spiritual fiction that we were working on, adding some poetry in there. And let me know how you guys like the just quality of life changes I made. I want to make this as accessible for you guys as possible, so I increased the zoom on the app over here to 125%. This way, what you guys see is a bit easier to read. Um, just let me know how that works out. I haven't gotten a chance to read your comments about any audio issues, but do let me know, and I will do my best to accommodate. Now, let's just get into our episode today, our writing, because that is what we're here for. We're going to consistently work on this book until we feel like it is good enough to publish. It will not be perfect. I want to emphasize that. Nothing is ever perfect, but we have to get this to a point where it is good enough to be published. It is better to be published than perfect. Right? You can always do a reprint and fix things. You can always do more editing, but it's better to just get everything out. So I will read chapter 4, what we wrote last episode, and then we will carry over that into chapter 5. So chapter 4 goes: Master Wiggins was waiting outside the temple door, with more concern than anger in his gaze. Are you boys okay? The ground was shaking fiercely some moments ago. We're fine, Master, uttered LaShawn as they bowed. It seems that is an overstatement. What happened to your eye, LaShawn? Oh, you know, just another run-in with some Bronsons with nothing better to do. Drayton, are these the same ones who ripped your shirt? It was the Luton gang, sir, said Drayton. Ah, so Clement is responsible for this. I wonder what caused that quake. Both boys hesitated to tell their master the truth. The world they lived in was ruthless. They trusted their Master Wiggins. They trusted Master Wiggins, but knew. Whoa, go back. That was an accident. Now you know I'm not AI, because that definitely wouldn't have happened. But they knew the circumstances. Let's go back to the sentence. They trusted Master Wiggins, but knew the circumstances were far from normal. If he could help them, they had no idea of the means. That meant the situation they had survived must remain a secret, at least for the time being. Word would get out eventually, but that was a bridge to be crossed after practice. But now the two wanted to feel something normal. Just another day in the dojo, learning from the teachers they so admired. All right. I think that had a good flow to it, a nice poetic scheme. I'm trying not to, well, I'm trying to use rhymes to pivot and have that flow or my signature flow to it, my voice, because this is how I typically write my poetry. So you don't have to do yours like this. This is just how I'm doing it and how I think things flow best, but it's all storytelling. Just tell the story in the best way that you know possible, and it will be good enough. So let's start off. I want to use a literary device here. I think we're going to start off with some sounds. Um, we're going to use that to start us off here. Um, hmm, let's see. Let's go with a. Uh, how do we want to type that? Yeah, let's just kind of go with that. We may come back and edit that. Yeah, let's have Drayton be the first one. Ah, said Drayton as he breathed deeply. Something like that. Said Drayton as he breathed. And we'll go another one, and we'll say that LaShawn chimed in. Practice sure is brutal today, isn't it? And are these the same? Okay. I was like, are these different font sizes for a sec? My eyes betrayed me. Practice sure is brutal today, isn't it? A little rhetorical question. And then we'll say, yeah. Uh, isn't it? Yeah, Master. We'll put a comment here. I'll say, yeah, Master Wiggins doesn't know how to take it easy, does he? And we'll say, know how. I don't think he. I don't think he knows the definition of the word easy. I'll say, said Drayton as he breathed deeply. Practice sure was. Are these? Yeah, I'm like something's off. I'm like something's off here. There we go. That was throwing me. Okay. Said Drayton as he breathed deeply. Practice sure is brutal, isn't it? Yeah, Master Wiggins doesn't know how to take it easy, does he? No how. He doesn't even know the definition of the word easy. Everything's exhausting 24/7. Let's say 24/7. Um, then we'll have him chime in. What would I feel like since we're portraying Wiggins as that master, that teacher that is like brutal but caring. So let's say hmm, if you have time to talk, you have time to drill. Mm, if you have time to talk, you have time to drill. Um, there needs to be another like rhyme here. Let's see. Said Drayton as he breathed deeply. Practice sure is brutal, isn't it? Yeah, Mr. Wiggins doesn't know how to take it easy, does he? Know how. I don't know how. I don't think he knows the definition of the word easy. Everything is exhausting 24/7. If you have time to talk, you have time to drill. Now grab you. Now take your positions. Battle sequence number 7. Yeah, I think. Take your positions. Battle sequence. Number 7. Okay. Wiggins was stern, sometimes to a fault. I don't really like the look of any of this. I think we'll just go something like something like that. Mm, I mean, I guess this keeps up the uniformity, but I don't really like how that looks. We'll have to see if I leave that formatting in there. Wiggins was stern, sometimes to a fault. Oh, the boys would never. What the boys would never entertain was the idea that he was a bad teacher. His discipline was admirable. His discipline was admirable. And they needed his influence. Without structure, they would, uh, without structure, they would be doomed. Nothing more. Nothing more than the animals struggling to survive. Like those they defended themselves against. Now, I said nothing more than the animals struggling to survive, like those they defended themselves against. I'm going to later make that a double entendre. So, later on in the book, I will introduce creatures, like mythical beasts that at first, when you read this, it makes it sound like the animals I'm talking about are the Luton gang, the people that they just fought, the ruffians, so to say. But later on in the book, they will know, the audience will come to realize that this is a double entendre, a phrase that has more than one meaning, because I'm going to introduce mythical beasts into the storyline. Um, this way, we keep up with the fantasy of it all. Let's see. I think it's good for another paragraph. I want to keep these relatively short. I always enjoy when books make the chapters easy to digest and just simple enough to read. I hate when chapters are too long, especially now people's attention spans are getting shorter. I don't want to make this an extremely like lengthy book. Plus, it's a lot easier to get everything done. I'm not sure where we're gonna really end, but I want to make this. I don't know. I want the book to be roughly like 185 to maybe like 225 pages. Right now we're on 23. Um, so we also are gonna add some images in here, which I will go over how to do that later and how to curate those later. But that's gonna add in space. Probably we'll definitely do one for chapter three. Probably another for chapter two. We might just fit it in this blank space here, and one for chapter one. Put it in probably this blank space here. So we'll have that's one, two, three, and this will take up a whole nother page. We shall see. But just keep in mind that as we're writing this, it's going to expand. So don't take the page count as a solid tracker. It's more of like a generalization. We're really just going to go until the story feels like, all right, that's the end of the book. We're just going to let it go and write together until we feel like this is a complete exhale of this arc, so to say. 'Cause I want this to feel almost like Avatar: The Last Airbender meets like poetry. Maybe not as far as to say Edgar Allan Poe, because that is a very steep bar to compare myself to, but definitely I wanted to have a poetic feel to it. And obviously, I've already killed off one character in this story, so it's a bit darker of a tale. We shall keep going. Let's see. They're in practice. If you have time to talk, you have time to drill. Now take your positions. Battle sequence number 7 begins with Stern, sometimes to a fault. But the boys would never entertain the idea that he was a bad teacher. His discipline was admirable, and they needed his influence. Without structure, they would be doomed. Nothing more than the animals struggling to survive like those they defended themselves against. Despite despite their protests, despite their protests, they knew it was a privilege to train under Master Shui and his disciple, Master Wiggins. It was a moment of fortune. It was a moment of fortune that they had the opportunity at all. Master Shui rarely took on students. Wiggins had been his only one. Yeah, we've already used numbers. Only one since the war. And it was Wiggins. Who persuaded them? Oh, the boys to train. To train at the temple. Let's see. Okay. Despite their protest, they knew it was a privilege to train under Master Sway and his disciple, Master Wiggins. It was a moment of fortune that they had the opportunity at all. Master Sway rarely took on students. Wiggins had been his only one since the war. And it was Wiggins, capital W, it was Wiggins who persuaded him to allow the boys to train in the first place, to train at the temple. Right, train at the temple. Before their monumental shift. They before their monumental shift. I should put a comma. How do I? How do I want to give their background? Because I already said that Drayton lives in a cottage, and that LaShawn lives somewhere else. So if I make them like, part of me instinctively wants to make it like they were like homeless, like living on the streets, but then I'll also have to explain how they got to their current living situations. I mean, I guess I could just give them like jobs. That should be easy enough actually, because I'll just use that as a way to introduce the magical beasts. I'll say that they hunt and they supply food to the town, but um, or maybe we can introduce like, if I introduce dungeons, I don't know. Should we introduce dungeons? Let me know down in the comments if that's something that you would like to see or like to read. I do love a good dungeon tale. Um, if you can't tell by how much or my way of talking and how the story is going, I definitely watch a fair amount of anime. I'm not a full weeb, but I definitely watch more than the average person of anime. So I think dungeons would be a pretty good idea to put in here. Some definitely, if we're gonna go down the rabbit hole of mythical beasts, we should definitely maybe not call them dungeons per se. Well, we might just keep it simple, but maybe like caverns or, yeah, caves, caverns, something like that. Let's see. And it was Wiggins who persuaded him to allow the boys to train at the dojo before their monumental shift. Uh, they were thieves. Let's put it that way. They were thieves. Stealing to get by. Yeah, stealing to get by. And struggling to feed themselves. Um, but with their master's help, they but with their masters, before their monumental shift, they were thieves, struggling to get by stealing to get by and struggling to feed themselves. With their master's help, they became something more. They became something more honorable. Honorable young men. who helped who helped out their community. Uh, they still had a bit of a mean streak from their survival days. But they're learning to tame uh, the beasts within them, just as their masters had. Just as their masters had before them. Just as their masters had. I think I'll leave it at that. They still had a bit of a mean streak from their survival days, but they were learning to tame the beasts within themselves. Just as their masters had. When they were in their youth. All right. And then I think this would be a good time to transition. I might just leave it with a cliffhanger right here. And then I'll say, are you ready to tell you the truth behind your scars? Are you ready? Are you ready to tell the truth behind your scars, Drayton? Or shall we train? Shall we train until you're covered? Or shall we train in yeah, or shall we train until you're completely covered? Mm. And then I'll say Master Shui. Master Shui's eyes. piercing. There wasn't the potency of violence or bloodlust. Not sure if that's actually a. I think that is a word. It might be a hyphenated word. We will check later. There wasn't the potency of bloodlust. There wasn't the potency of violence or bloodlust. But Drayton knew he was serious. And I think that is a good place to stop. Let's go over what we have again. Ah, said Drayton as he breathed deeply. Practice sure is brutal, isn't it? Yeah, Master Wiggins doesn't know how to take it easy, does he? Know how? I don't think he knows the definition of the word easy. Everything is exhausting. If you have time to talk, you have time to drill. Now take your positions. Battle sequence number 7. Wiggins was stern, sometimes to a fault, but the boys would never entertain the idea that he was a bad teacher. His discipline was admirable, and they needed his influence. Without structure, they would be doomed. Nothing more than the animals struggling to survive, like those they defended themselves against. Uh, Despite their protests, they knew it was a privilege to train under Master Sway and his disciple, Master Wiggins. It was a moment of fortune that they had the opportunity at all. Master Sway rarely took on students. Wiggins had been his first since the war. His first has been his, had, Wiggins had been his only one since the war, and it was Wiggins who persuaded him to allow the boys to train at the temple. Before their monumental shift, they were thieves, stealing to get by and struggling to feed themselves. But with their master's help, they became something more. Honorable young men who helped out their community. They still had a bit of a mean streak from their survival days, but they were learning to tame the beast within themselves, just as their masters had when they were in their youth. Are you ready to tell the truth behind your scars, Drayton? Or shall we train until you are completely covered? Master Sway's eyes were piercing. There wasn't the potency of violence or bloodlust, but Drayton knew he was serious. Yeah, that's a good stopping place. And just to keep up with our pattern, I will. Let's say we're going to go for 6. And then change this to that. All right. Perfect. Okay, so that was been an episode of writing. I think that was a good place to stop. I will see you guys next time, and we will continue our story. If you guys did like this and appreciate the value of seeing behind the scenes of what it realistically takes to write a book, please do leave a like, and it really does help out the channel. I would appreciate it. And just let me know anything that I could do quality wise to help you guys get a better understanding of what is going on. I'm trying to talk about what's going on in my head as best as possible, but I'm here really to help you guys become better writers. That is the whole point of exposing this process. Like, I could just write the books and not record any of this, but I want to help you guys. I want to help out the other people that want to become writers and want to just have something tangible of their own and build like their own little legacy, because I've enjoyed writing books so much and it's helped me so much in life, and I want to pass that gift and these lessons onto you guys. So until next time, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you writers next episode.